are back with Jeff Geraci, Artex ACR. He's the VP of Global Sales. This is the guy you don't necessarily want to know that you need until you really need them.
Best product we hope you never use.
Bingo, yeah, you're hoping for it, but for those of us who've been on the ragged edge a couple of times, we're just going, yeah, I hope that works.
Yes.
So we shall see. Jeff, tell me what's new with Artex ACR.
Well, just this month, we introduced a replacement for the ever-popular Rescue Link personal locator beacon. So this is a beacon that can be used in an aircraft, a boat, hiking. And we've come out with a new product, which is the PLB 400 and the PLB View. So the unique items of this is the release of the antenna is redesigned. It's much easier to deploy the antenna. It has an infrared strobe as well as a daytime strobe, and it has multiple GPS acquisition units. So it's a much more accurate device. It's a more elegant device. It's all buoyant, whereas before you had to have different back pieces to make it buoyant. It's all buoyant. It has attachments, so you can attach it to your PFD. So it's a much better design. With the View, you have a small window, and this would indicate GPS is sent. It gives an indication to the user that yes, my signal went out and it's gone to Cost-Best RSAT and to the rescue services, and help is on the way.
There you go.
So it's another indication that your unit has worked. So we're really excited about this. Once again, these are used in land and marine, also in aviation. So we have a lot of a great prospect for that product. Last time we spoke, which was the AEA last year, we had introduced ELT 4000. The unique part of this device is that it is the first alkaline 406 beacon produced. And we had just introduced it, and I'm proud to say that we have 5 major placements, including Bombardier, Gulfstream, and Cessna, and also Bell Helicopter. And we are looking forward to many more. Once again, this alleviates the issue of lithium special conditions, which mandates you have to encapsulate your ELT to minimize any event of lithium runaway, but this makes it exempt because it's using alkaline chemistry, so it doesn't have any of those idiosyncrasies or compliance paths. So that has been going well. So that's just an update on a product that we introduced last year. Another item I'd like to discuss is we have a lot of legacy ELTs that have 121.5 or 243 megahertz only. So they were prior to the 406 mandate, but in the United States and Canada, these ELTs are still available for use. As long as they test, you can still use the ELT in your aircraft. The Bahamas recently mandated you can't, Mexico, all the rest of the world basically has mandated 406. The United States and Canada are the only 2 countries left. We've been producing the batteries for these units for the past, it's almost 30 years now, 25 years. The units were originally introduced in 1984. We've been continually making batteries to support the customer, but we've run into some issues with obsolescence of the parts to make the batteries. Additionally, there was the FCC has given language, very strong language, indicating they want the frequency back for non-aviation use, and they are pushing also the obsolescence of these devices as well through the FAA. Although we don't have a mandate to remove the devices, ACR has taken the position to obsolete the battery systems for the ELTs at the end of 2019. So what this means is that at the end of 2019, you'll have a last opportunity to buy these batteries, and you're on a 2-year clock to remove the ELT. So the 110.4 and the ELT 200 are the most popular units. We still have 16,000 of these units in the field in all different types of aircraft. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to offer to the customers in a way to help the customer through this transition. We're going to buy back their old unit and offer them an incentive to stay with ACR Artex and buy one of our products and replace it. So we have various information and coordination memos to help the customer define what they have now, what they can reuse, and what they have to replace as they make this important transition to 406. So we wanted to keep going as long as we could with the batteries, but at some point you have to realize obsolescence because the parts are just so old. You know, when you have that long of a run with electronics, it eventually comes to an end.
How is the pilot community responding to this?
So far, I've been talking to a lot of the owners. I've been also talking to installers. Everyone is somewhat supportive. The replacement has started a long time ago. So in 2013, we stopped being able to repair the unit. We just kept making the batteries. So there's been a steady attrition rate. I'm sure that we'll have some resistance. An ELT is not an elegant device. No one says, wow, I'd really like to have a new ELT. It's something you must have. It's a mandated product.
It's certainly not the first on the list.
It's back there.
Yeah.
But we, life-saving, with a life-saving device, we want to make sure that we have as good a possible as chance that you make it back from something that you might not have made back if you didn't have that equipment. So I think the pilot community, there will be some resistance. We understand that. We hope that the incentive program and us putting our money where our mouth is will help soothe that. But it's a move that we have to make, and once again, the FCC, there is support for it moving forward. We think there would have been an FAA mandate if it would not have been for ADS-B. There's a lot of mandates going on, and I don't feel that the FAA wanted to pile on, which I think was a very good move. Let the units go out through attrition. We're just speeding up that attrition through the obsolescence of the batteries.
What doesn't the pilot community know about ELT technology that they really need to know now?
So NASA has been doing an awful lot of testing on how an ELT works. Why it doesn't work, I think, is even a more important fact. So as we look at...
Interesting idea.
They did some testing, and they had aircraft, and they crashed the aircraft and simulated mishaps, and told us an awful lot about G-switches, activation, and all that. So what I would say is make sure your installation is correct. Make sure your substrate is strong enough that the unit will realize it's the G's when it has to do its work. And also, you must test the ELT on an annual basis, especially the crash activation system. The G-switch has a lot of vibration. It's sitting in the aircraft doing nothing. You need to test that activation system on an annual basis. So I'd say in order for this to work, we have to maintain it correctly, and we have to make sure it's installed correctly. And I think there's a lot of data that we're seeing that some installs are not correct, and that leads to the inability of the device to do its work.
It's a shame there isn't, or maybe there is somewhere that I'm not aware of, a concept of an ELT audit, so to speak, to look at the condition of our aircraft, our systems, and whether or not we're really in position to take advantage of all the technologies available to us.
That's an interesting concept. I think ELT, when we think about ELT and the fact that it is mandated and it is not very glamorous, a lot of people don't consider it to be important to flight. And we are a design assurance level D. If it does not function, the aircraft will not have any adverse effects. But there is a lot of technology with ELT. There's smaller, lighter, there's different activation systems, portable. There is a need, I believe, for education. I do understand exactly what you're saying. It's a simple device. And when I first came to ELT, I thought it was an incredibly simple device. I've learned that it's actually quite a complicated device in its options and how it's used and how it's installed. So yes, education would be, or some sort of an audit or safety check or list, or here's what you should be doing with this particular installation or scenario would be helpful.
Well, for somebody who's flown, I've flown all over the world in a variety of different types of aircraft. There's been a couple of times where I realized that if I was about to have a problem with an aircraft, I was in a world of hurt. I was in the boonies. Whether it be places in Alaska, places in the Middle East, there's some areas in South America where you're obviously never going to be found again. Where this kind of technology all of a sudden becomes, okay, is my battery up to date? Is everything working? And you don't think about it when you kick the tires and head on out. And it's something we should be thinking about more and more. And yet at the same time, Joe Blow in his little Cessna 150 running through north of the Okefenokee Swamp certainly wants to be found in a hurry.
It is, and all of our systems, when we make all of our Artex ELTs, support a self-test every month. So we have enough power within the battery system to support a self-test every month. You go in, you do a self-test, it'll tell you your battery, it'll tell you your power, it'll tell you if you have GPS, it'll tell you if your G-switch is working. All of the self-test is the easiest way to ascertain the viability of the product on a monthly basis. A lot of people don't do a self-test but once a year during that annual, or when they replace the battery. The requirement is on an annual basis, but I would say that we need to educate to where maybe more self-test. It's a very simple self-test. A lot of owners, they don't want to do it because if I have an issue, then I'm on the clock for the MEL, but it's important to self-test.
Let's go back to where we started out for a little bit with PLBs. There is no question, especially for those who are knowingly working in territory or working in environments that could put them at risk, that this is an additional insurance policy.
And a very inexpensive one.
Good point. What is it that people need to know when they're selecting a PLB? What is it that you really want them to do? What is, for lack of a better way to put it, the minimum equipment list for a PLB?
So for a PLB, they all behave identical to an ELT. They transmit 406 for 24 hours. They transmit 121.5 for 48 hours. So they all do the same thing. They talk to COSPAS set, you register with NOAA. So now we're down to form factor. So the question is, do you need it to float? Are you looking for something that's smaller that fits into your vest, what have you? Do you want the ability to have strobes? And do you want to have the additional feature of the GPS sent acknowledgement and that type of messaging from the device? It's really about convenience and also form factor. Do you want to have a way to affix it? You know, this is a smaller device, but it doesn't have a way to affix it to the vest. So it's really about form factor. After that, it's about battery life and warranty. So 6-year battery, 3-year warranty, or the company behind it. How good is this beacon going to behave when I really need it? And so ACR, with its history of making beacons, the Rescue Link is the most popular beacon ever made. We have sold more of these products than any other beacon has sold of any type. So we know how to do beacons. It is our primary mission is beacons. So you know that ACR has the technology, it has the manufacturing capability, and quite frankly the quality systems to ensure that this device, although it's only $300 or $250,
really?
It functions correctly. Yes.
Huh. Yep. Okay. Wasn't aware they were that inexpensive.
Yes, $299 and $350 is the pricing for these.
I'll be darned.
Yep. So if you divide that by 6 years, you have a fairly inexpensive insurance policy per year.
Outstanding.
And the antenna, it's easy to deploy. You can do it one-handed, and away you go.
Okay.
So we feel that at Artex, so let's say that you have an ELT, and your ELT, you have a mishap, and the antenna is severed from the aircraft, and you have this, or the aircraft sinks, the aircraft is on fire. These two put together...
Or you've got to try to find a way to get out of where you are.
Exactly. These two devices put together, what we think is what we call the perfect combo, and that's one of our giveaways at the shows. We feel that this combination of product, you've checked the box for safety. You've done all that you can do to have a rescue, effective rescue, and those two together is a powerful rescue solution.
Interesting.
Right. Not just products, but a solution.
On the PLB side of things, for those of my friends in the sport aviation arena who are flying machines that have a tendency to have more than their share of engine failures and get stuck in the boonies and things of that nature, this sounds like a really cheap insurance policy.
It is insurance, and if you're taking a long trip, if you're flying abroad, whatever you're doing, it also goes with you. It is a personal beacon. It can be used in many different scenarios. But you're right. If you're doing that type of sport flying, if you're doing backwoods stuff, you'd want to have it.
Or for that matter, I was traveling once in a little machine on the way out to Mojave, or actually from Mojave, working my way west, and actually through a prop. And I'll tell you what, walking a couple of miles through the Mojave is not my idea of a good time.
No.
And had it not been a particularly better time of year than it would otherwise have been, it would have been really ugly.
Right.
So, but this technology wasn't available at the time I had that incident. That was in the 80s. So
yeah, that was just as the PLB was starting to come into the market. And in the early PLBs were very large devices. Yeah.
How do people get educated on this? What resources can you provide for them to not only make sure that their ELT technology is up to date, but see whether or not a PLB is a solution for them?
Well, the website is a great place to go, acrartex.com, and it has a lot of information on how PLBs are used, who is the typical PLB customer, and a lot of our customers will run into this product at REI or Bass Pro Shops. A lot of the sporting goods are starting to have these products as well. So they're not as mysterious as they once were. But once again, if you have a question, you're welcome to call ACR. We'll talk to you, as well as the website. But also an authorized retailer, West Marine retailers, they're very well versed in beacon technology, as this has been a part of their world for an awful long time, the PLB, much like ELT has been a part of aviation.
Outstanding. Jeff, you've been a really great guest here. We sure appreciate your time. We'll look forward to catching up with you down the line. And you and I need to have a little bit longer discussion about this, because I think there's some stories here that ultimately would serve the community by being able to get more information out there on both sides of the fence. So
it sounds
thank
good.
you very much
thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, Jim. I really appreciate it.
And once again, tell people how they can get more information on ACR and Artex ACR. Yeah.
Those guys. So ACRartex.com. Just go ahead and Google us and look for PLB. We always come up first for PLB. It's a lot of what we do, and that's an easy way to find out more information on PLBs and also Artex branded beacons. Thank you.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 62nd Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Palm Springs, California, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
It's called Airtext Plus. The mobile office is now a true, cost-effective win-win reality, because being available and part of the communication chain keeps you in control. Visit us at www.airtext.aero for more information and get started staying in touch today.